Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 100-Year Real Estate Investor. I am your host, Gino from Jake and Gino, and this is the show dedicated to long-term personal financial engineering. Our guest today is a lifelong entrepreneur who's founded more than 20 companies. He's also a lifelong investor. He started an investment holding company, Mutual Capital Alliance, in 1994. And for the past 27 years, they've made more than 100 investments into private companies, including the 100-Year Real Estate Investor. He's the co-founder of Mutual Capital Partners, a private equity firm with 3 funds. He's also the co-author of Who's in Your Room? The Secret to Creating Your Best Life, which became an international bestseller. He and his wife, Melissa, have 4 children and live in Texas. That's a lot of stuff going on, Mr. Rick Sapio. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Gene. I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank God you were underneath the desk fooling around with your wires and doing something with your video back down. So you made it happen. That's what it's all about, being a 100-year real estate investor. And we had this whole show planned today. And I'm like, Rick, we're going to do this show and do everything. And tragedy struck this week for you. And it's so relevant to the long-termism that you constantly preach, to the long-term mindset, to generational wealth, to legacy wealth. Can we dive into the story, what's happening the last few days, and let's make it relevant to the listeners and start with the end in mind. To me, that's what the theme of the story is. Start with the end in mind. Mind sharing, Rick?
No, I'd love to. So just for the listeners' information, I called Gino to say, look, I can't do a video recording today because it's just going to be too hard. I've got so much going on. It's the day before Thanksgiving. But if we were to start with the end in mind, the whole notion of being a 100-year minded person, a 100-year real estate investor, is to envision your life, 100 years from now. And if you were going to envision your life 100 years from now, you would take care of your health. You would take care of your key relationships. You would take care of your finances. You would make sure that your legacy is intact, that your family's protected if anything were to happen to you. So a long-term mindset informs what you do today. And as a real example, if you wanted to live to be 100, you wouldn't, go to McDonald's today and get 3 orders of French fries. You would, probably work out, eat right, not drink too much, etc. So on Friday at 12:34 p.m. to be exact, and I know exactly the time, I did what I always do. I went to my trainer's house, and I've been working out with the same trainer for 11 and a half years, 6 times a week. And, he was acting erratic last night. I don't know what happened, or I should say he was acting erratic the night before, which was Thursday. So this was 5 days ago. And so I got one of my friends to go to his house where we worked out. And they said, well, I'm here. He's sick. He's in bed, but he seems fine. That was about 10 in the morning. But my gut was that there was something wrong. And it turns out that this incredibly healthy man, 6% body fat, worked out every day, ate right, looked right. He looked like he was in his 30s and he was 62, had a heart attack and died. And so what I walked in on at 12:34 p.m. was the paramedics were there. His house was in complete disarray because they had 16 people there from the paramedics. No family, no friends, no next of kin. Busted the door open, tore the place apart because they didn't know if there was, what's the right word? They didn't know if there was foul play involved. And after several hours, they declared him dead by natural causes. But here's the kicker. He had no will. He had no instructions. He had no next of kin. He had nothing. So now my life gets turned upside down the last 5 days for a lot of reasons, most of which is probably just the emotional drain of having friends in town for Thanksgiving. My kids are acting up because their daddy's not present. And I'm spending 5 hours a day dealing with tremendous number of unexpected events, like ex-girlfriends from years ago saying, where's my cut? And crazy stuff like that. But here's the thing, Gino, and you could ask me any question you want. Every single person on earth is going to die. And it took me all the way to 2006 when I was 46 years old to realize, well, wait a minute, I'm doing the math right. I'm 58 now, so I would have been about 43 in 2006. But to realize that one of the best investments on planet Earth for me and my legacy, which happens to be, by the way, the best investment that most large national banks make, is life insurance, because at the point that someone dies, all life insurance policies pay off, and they pay off. You could look the stats up, but between 10% and 12% fully cumulative interest at that point in time. But this is whole life that we're talking about, because you also get with a whole life policy from a investor owned, mutually owned insurance company, which there's not too many of. You also get dividends. So, I talked to him about life insurance at least 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to hear it, didn't want to hear it, didn't want to hear it. Well, then it turns out, well, lo and behold, he's one of 10 kids, and he's got a lot of nieces and nephews. And I spent a lot of time with his niece, who's 24, and she's like, damn, he had cash. He had over $500,000 in green cash, and he could have had, $20 million in life insurance. As a single guy, he could have left it to charity. He could have left it to research. He happened to be a PhD virologist at SMU. So, it really hit me between the eyes. So here I am calling you to cancel. And you're like, wait a minute, Rick, tragedy struck. Why don't we use this as an opportunity to wake up the audience?
Mm-hmm. Wow, we can go into so many different ways. The first thing, people are going to push back and say, well, life insurance is not an investment. Okay, it's an asset. We look at it as an investment. We're investing in our lives. We're investing in ourselves. We're investing in our legacy. And I want everyone to do this little exercise with me. And it's very powerful. Real quick, I'm not going to bore everybody. Start with the end in mind. Just close your eyes, everybody who's listening to this, and think about what your legacy is. Think about when you are on your deathbed, 20 or 30 years from now. How is it going to be? For me, I want my 6 kids around me. I want my 20 grandchildren around me. I want everyone singing Salve Regina and having a great time in the Jake and Gino community, saying, that guy was awesome. He helped me out. That's my legacy. And oh, by the way, Julia's sitting over there, doesn't have to worry about a bill, doesn't have to worry about any money. She's set for life. That's what I want. I want happiness. I want joy. I don't want them stressing about bills. I don't want them stressing about any of that stuff. That's my job as the provider. And that's how I incorporated life insurance and whole life into my plan. I'm putting it on myself for that legacy and thinking about that long-termism. If we don't do it today, we just let life happen to us. As entrepreneurs, we can't let life happen to us. We can take control of life. Rick is a really disciplined person. I'm a disciplined person. Everyone listening to this is probably disciplined. They have that long-termism. I want you all to take a look at that story that Rick's discussing and bring that to yourself and see what happens to yourself. And, you may say, hey, he didn't have any children, but we still all have a legacy. We still all want to leave something behind. We all still want to leave impact. The 6 human needs, number 5 and number 6 is growth and contribution. When you contribute to life and you help others, that's where you live in your sole purpose. That's what gets you going. That's what's going to make you happy in life. And you have to think about how you can do that, right, Rick?
Yeah. And there's a lot of nuance to what you just said. So let me just clarify one thing. Let's talk about my friend, and we'll just call him Tom, because I've learned in these podcasts is that if you use real names, people complain. Tom could have put this $500,000 that he had in green cash, forget about the couple million that he had in the bank, and he could have bought a $20 million life insurance policy. 20 million could have gone to advance his research in viruses. 20 million could have gone to help all of his nieces and nephews, since he comes from 10 kids, 10 siblings, I should say, could have helped them. So that's number one. Number two, there's so much misinformation, as you're learning, Gino, about this. I had a term policy. I was paying $10,000 a month. Once the term ran out,
you've 10,000 a month or 10,000 a year? 10,000
a year. Sorry,
yes,
for like 15 years, and it ran out, and I'm still alive, and that money's gone. Had I been putting that 10,000 a year into a whole life policy, it would be accumulating. And guess what? I could have borrowed against it at any time.
Yes.
So it is an asset, and people in the life insurance business don't even fully understand it, from what I've learned. They just don't. They don't understand mutually owned. They don't understand term versus whole life. There's all kinds of, I think, scam sayings like buy term and invest the difference. People don't do that. They really, but if they're in a whole life, they're investing every month, and it's a forced savings plan for an asset.
Yes. There's so much we can dive into. Is it a scam? It depends. What's your mindset? If you're thinking about next week, it's a scam for you. It's not going to work for you. But if you're thinking about planning and leaving a legacy and making an impact and utilizing the dual asset strategy, we're entrepreneurs. Anyone who owns a business, to have a little bit of cash surplus on the side whenever you need it, those emergency funds, pays off really well. I don't want my money in the bank earning 0.5%. I want a cash management tool where I'm able to utilize that money. And whenever I need it, I tap into it. What would you advise to the listeners if they're here right now and they're listening and they don't want to become your Tom? I mean, your name is Rick on the show. You said you don't use real names, but your name is Rick on the show. Just making sure I'm speaking to the right Rick Sapio here. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you're like, well, where do I start? How do I start creating my legacy?
I would say be skeptical. You have every right to be skeptical, but talk to one of the consultants on the team, the 100-year real estate investor team. Look, you and I 5 years ago, never would we have imagined that we would be on a podcast as business partners in an insurance agency called the 100-Year Real Estate Investor. But it's true because we saw an opportunity to create a dual asset product. So, you could have money in the bank. Let's assume you have 100,000. You could take that 100,000 and invest in a long-term investment in a real estate project. So now you have one asset. It went from the bank to the one asset. Or you could take the same 100 and invest it in a policy like we're talking about, then borrow against it, and you now have both the real estate investment if you use those borrowings to invest in real estate, and you still have the asset called the long-term life insurance policy. And so I've done that with 11 policies. I think you have 6 policies. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's as close to a no-brainer as I've seen. It makes all the sense in the world to me. But look, everybody has a right to be skeptical. So if you're going to be skeptical, talk to one of our real estate agents who also happen to be long-term real estate investors. So they get to talk to somebody just like them.
I've done a couple shows ago about bank-owned life insurance and corporate-owned life insurance and all the wealthy. We're doing key man policies. If you want to become wealthy and have that mindset, you don't go out and mirror somebody who's making $40,000 a year and telling you it's a scam. You just don't do that. I mean, I want to align myself with people who are successful. The proximity to me is very, very important. I want to see what they do. And I keep saying this, go look at Joe Biden's balance sheet. He's got $7 million of whole life cash value on his balance sheet. They all have that because it's a nice asset to have there. He's passing it on to his legacy. I mean, look at all the wealthy banks out there.
I'm laughing. I can't believe I'm on a podcast where Joe Biden was an example to follow.
Hey, a clock is wrong, right? Twice a day, right? I mean, whatever that story is, but think about it.
I just saw a video of him this morning. Someone sent me. It's too funny. He goes, "Listen,
let's go to Bank of America. I mentioned it. $15 billion of cash value on their balance sheet. They have $3 billion in stocks and $8 or $9 billion in real estate. This was in 2015. That's the last balance sheet that I saw. So when I look at that, I'm like, what are they doing this and why are they doing this? And for me, like Rick said, it's a no-brainer. If you're into that long-termism, if you're into actually providing for your family. Rick, last question that I have, what can the listeners do out there? What could your friend have done that was a little bit different other than getting life insurance? Should he start with a will? Should he be thinking about his future? How do people start with that?
I think even prior to a will, if you go online and just Google, what are my last wishes? Who's going to get the piano? Who's going to get the, knives and fork? Who do I want to present at my funeral or wake? Who do I want to give the eulogy? Do I want to have a big party in my name? A friend of mine had one of these. His name is Bobby. And because it was so cool, he created a party invite. This is a crazy story. So on his 50th birthday, my friend Bobby died, his close friend. And he died in a small plane accident. So he went from fully alive to fully dead in a matter of an instant. And his wife sent out this party invite, and 1,500 people showed up. And the party invite was a video of him. And this is so bizarre. Like 3 or 4 years prior to that, he made a video. And the video was, hey, you guys are all here at my death. And I just want you to laugh. I want you to have fun. I want everybody, I don't care if you drink or not, pass around bottles of tequila. We're all going to do a shot in my honor. And he's giving these instructions on a big video. So he laid his death out perfectly. So start there. Then, so everybody's got their instructions, passwords, all that stuff, how you want your funeral to go. Do you want to be like Bobby and have a party? And then get a good attorney and have a will and think about it. Do you really want your kids to get your money? I don't. I want my grandkids to get my money. I want my kids to be able to get loans against my estate to start businesses. So you want to get granular like that on your will. And then when you go to your attorney to do your will, they're going to say, well, you have to have an ILIT, an life insurance trust, because when you die, that life insurance, you don't want to be taxed by the government. You want it to go to a trust that bypasses tax. So none of this is that difficult. And one of the consultants that we work with could help you. So my very direct answer to the very simple question is start with the simple instruction, then the will, and then the insurance on that side. That's one aspect of the complete and total other side is using your money more effectively to get cash value life insurance as an asset, which is separate from all of that. So there's two sides to this, and you could talk to, like I said, an agent about it.
Yeah, just go to 100year rei.com. Go take a look at the website, schedule a call with one of the 100-year team members. they've done over $1 billion in death benefit insurance. So they know the policies. They know how to specially design a policy. And everyone says, well, what is it going to cost me? Give me these scenarios. Everyone is special and unique, whether you're healthier, you're younger, you're older. What are your goals? How much can you put in? Do you want to do a single premium lump sum? Do you want to do a separate number of years? Do you want to get them on your kids? Do you see, I can go on and on because there's so many different scenarios. And the only way you're going to know is by scheduling a call and speaking to one of the experts, because if not, it's just going to be confusing. You're going to go back on Facebook and read all these blogs and watch all these YouTube videos. Just speak to somebody, start the conversation and get educated on it. And for me, like Rick said, I started a policy over 20 years ago. That thing is cranking, it's churning. The only regret I had, I wish I'd started and I'd put in more. Because remember, what's the saying that James Clear says? Almost all of us wish we started sooner. None of us wish we started later. Just remember that. It's really
I have
powerful.
a quote for you. It's an ancient Chinese proverb. When is the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today.
Mm-hmm.
And you're planting a tree here. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to go back to the domain you mentioned, it's 100 year. So 100YEAR.com. And the REI stands for real estate investor.
Mm-hmm.
I think also if you spell it out, if you want, that still works too. But
Mm-hmm.
look, Gino and I, as you can tell, we're very excited about this because I feel like we're genuinely helping people, and we could have helped my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, he didn't, plant his tree. And
Mm-hmm.
my goal for you guys, and James Clear would say the same thing, is plant the tree today. Take some action.
Yeah. I love that. Rick, I want to wish you happy Thanksgiving. I mean, all the listeners is going to be past happy Thanksgiving. We're going to the holiday season. This is a time to reflect, to think about it, to maybe downshift the gear and think about what your legacy and what you want to leave behind and start making an impact on life. So once again, glad you're out from underneath the table. You're on the video. We had a great conversation. I got to see you before the holidays, and everyone, let's go out there and let's make it happen. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Gina. I had a great time. Happy Thanksgiving.